Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the greatest recordings ever. I hope you've been enjoying the repertoire talks that we've been doing lately. By popular demand, I've brought that series back to life. I mean, actually, I was always doing them, but we'll do them more. There's so much music to talk about. That's the thing. But I don't want to give up the greatest recordings ever either, because now we can have the best of both worlds. And today we are talking about Bruckner Symphony number 5, the weirdest, strangest, most bizarre symphony in the entire 19th century. There is nothing like it. Nothing at all. It is the most Brucknerish of all the Bruckner symphonies, and he knew it because he didn't have to revise it. He just wrote it, and it was wonderful. But in his lifetime, it was reorchestrated and performed with cuts, and it's all kinds of things happened to it because nobody could quite believe it was what it was. And it's not a practical piece. It's like 72 minutes long or 75 minutes long, somewhere in there. It's long, and nothing happens until the very end. It's not that it isn't worth listening to. It's wonderful. There are all kinds of intervening events, but there's only one big climax at the very end. And you need to have an orchestra that has a brass section that can sustain itself for the climax at the very end. You know, Joachim used to add an extra brass ensemble just for the very end because he knew that these guys needed to take a breath before they came in with the final chorale. But nowadays, orchestras can handle it. They really can. Not that they always do, but they can. And there have been many, many, many recordings of this symphony, but most of them are big letdowns in one way or another because people have a hard time coming to grips with the strange form of the work. And it shouldn't be. That's the thing that's so fascinating. It's a normal 4-movement symphony with a, allegro and an adagio and a scherzo and a finale. But that finale is like 25 minutes long, and it's this enormous double fugue, and it brings all the themes from the previous movements together in one happy mélange before the final chorale just blasts everything away. You'd think it wouldn't be tough to do, but the length of it and the strangeness of its thematic material and the relentlessly contrapuntal treatment and the whole sort of emotional ambivalence of it, that's what really gets you. Technically, it's in a major key. It's in like B-flat major, but it doesn't sound it. It's always hovering between major key and minor key, happiness, sadness, positiveness, timidity. Every emotion in the piece has its antithesis, and so the result is that you're in suspense until the very end. It's not that nothing happens until the very end. It's that what does happen doesn't give you that feeling of finality, even at the ends of the various movements. And so a great performance has to keep you guessing. It has to keep things hovering while being interesting along the way, while making you want to listen. And it's a tall order. It really is, especially when you get to the finale. You think, oh, finally, it's the end. But then you've got 25 minutes of really intricate double fugue counterpoint stuff that it at various points simply atomizes into almost just, I don't know how to describe it. It's just like do do beep boop boop ee boop ee boom ee. It's really quite something. It doesn't sound like much when I do that, does it? But you have to be there. It's extraordinary. So there are many performances of it. A great performance has to have a fabulous brass chorale at the end. I mean, with an orchestra that can really sustain it, no matter what. That's number one. And number two, it has to sustain your interest until you get to the end. And the one that does it, I just don't understand how everything went so right, but it did, is this one. It's Wolfgang Sawallisch on Orfeo with the Bavarian State Orchestra. They just had a great day. That's all I can say. I mean, Sawallisch, who was not necessarily the most thrilling conductor out there, did some very fine Bruckner for Orfeo. He also did a marvelous first symphony. And there's everything about this performance just goes right. First of all, you have a brass section which is well differentiated. You know, the trumpets and the horns and the trombones and tuba, they sound different. They have their own character. And so when they all come together at the end and they're all blasting away. You really hear the differentiation in sound. You have the big chorale, ba, 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 but the bass trombones on that dum, bum, bum, ba, dum, bum. You got to hear that on the bottom. You know, it has to sound like this enormous cosmic engine just revving up, and they do. They pull it off. Sawallisch times it beautifully. He really does. The first movement is very difficult because it consists of blocks of sound that don't seem to have much relationship to each other, and then it stops. The adagio is very beautiful but very long, and here it lasts 16, 17 minutes, which is fabulous. Instead of like 20-something, it flows, which it has to do. Now, the scherzo begins with the same theme as the adagio, and some people take them at the same tempo, which is bizarre, you know, because they're one's an adagio, one's a scherzo, but you can arrange them so that, you know, three bars or 4 bars of the scherzo equals 1 of the adagio. Or I don't know. They do something. Just play it at the speed Bruckner wants it done. And the scherzo, which is quite long, I mean, it's 12 minutes and 44 seconds here, has a lot of speed ups and slow downs, which Sawallisch handles fabulously. I mean, he whips up the exciting bits so that they really have energy. I mean, that surges. I mean, that's what we need with this piece. And then there's the finale, 25 minutes of counterpoint and thematic recall and quasi-sonata things and chorales flying at you from every direction. And they just nail it. It is glorious and very well recorded, naturally recorded, just a spectacular performance. Of anything. And I know this is a difficult symphony. I mean, people have written in the comments that, you know, they love Bruckner, but they still can't get the fifth. Well, you can't love Bruckner and not get the fifth, because it's the most Bruckner-y of all of the symphonies, the one that's most like him and the most unlike everybody else in the universe, whoever existed. And this is the performance that I think sells it. It really, really sells it. And you've got, like, you know, God on the picture, on the cover. So how can you not like it, right? Cankresans, of course, the evil god of classical music, took one look at this and said, bad painting. Anyway, keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Give this a shot. You won't be sorry. Take care.